You all know Ethel Merman, star of stage, movies, records, television. She of that loud, brassy, honest voice, Ethel Merman, who has been described as a doll from Astoria, Long Island, with a trumpet in her throat. Cole Porter says she sounds like a band going by. Irving Berlin advised songwriters never to write a bad number for her. He warned, if you do, every last person in the theater is going to hear distinctly just how bad it is. 2.5 years ago, Ethel Merman became Mrs. Robert F. Six. Her husband is a former pilot who once worked as a newspaperman in San Francisco and now is president of Continental Airlines. He's a bank director and an oil company executive. Ethel and Bob Six live in this Normandy-style house with Ethel Merman's 2 children. It's in Cherry Hills, about 8 miles south of Denver, Colorado. It's in the middle of a 6-acre garden, and it's called, appropriately enough, 6 Acres. You can see the Rocky Mountains from their living room window. Good evening way out there, Miss Merman.
Hi, Ed.
How are you?
I'm just fine. How are you?
Fine, thanks. The last time I saw you, I think, was about 2 years ago when Merman and Martin were in the same corner on a television show.
That's right, Ed. We did the Ford 50th anniversary show. If I remember correctly, you were on that, too, and did pretty well for yourself.
Well, I think the most fun I had was listening to you 2 girls rehearse and then do the final performance. It was a great thing.
Thank you. We had a lot of fun doing it, too.
Ethel, that looks like another old friend on the wall there, isn't it?
Oh, yes. That's me as Panama Hattie. You may remember that show. I co-starred in that with my good friend Bert Law.
I do indeed.
Yes.
Ethel, I know we're almost 2,000 miles apart, but just where are we in your house now?
Well, I'm up on the balcony overlooking the living room.
What are you doing on the balcony?
Oh, I always wanted to play Juliet. Wherefore art thou Romeo?
At this distance, I don't think we can even rehearse Romeo and Juliet, Ethel. Ethel, where's Bob?
Well, he's downstairs in the library. Shall we go down and find him?
Good. Why don't you lead the way and tell us about your home as you go?
All right. Now, over in that wing, Ed, is the master bedroom. And over here, in this wing, are the children's rooms. And this is the upstairs hall. These are the stairs leading down to the reception hall. Say, it wouldn't be very wise to slide down this thing, would it? And in here, we have the library. And Robert, I hope, supposed to be in here. Hi, Robert.
Hello, darling. How are you?
Fine.
Evening, Robert.
Hello, Ed.
How are you?
Nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you. I know you're a pretty busy man and do a lot of traveling. You do your homework here in the library?
Well, Ed, this is a very comfortable library, and I have a lot of work to do with Continental Airlines, and Ethel helps me with it at times. In fact, I dictate to her. You know, she's an ex-stenographer, and she's wonderful, and she's the greatest unpaid stenographer I've ever had.
Is she still pretty good with that shorthand?
She is magnificent, Ed, let me assure you.
Ethel, I've just been reading your book, Who Can Ask for Anything More?
Yes.
Is this where you kept your files?
No, I don't have my files down here, Ed. I have a little office upstairs where I have my files and a desk and a typewriter. You know, I do all my own typing, and I write my own letters. I've never had a secretary all the years I've been in show business, and I find it very amusing to do it that way.
You know, having said that, you're going to have a lot of typing to do in the next few weeks, I'll bet.
I think I will.
Bob, let's talk flying for a moment, can we?
Right, Ed.
When are we going to have jet passenger planes in this country?
Well, Ed, it looks to me like sometime in the second quarter of 1959, we'll have jet transports available to the commercial public flying coast to coast in 4 hours and 30 minutes. In fact, my company, Continental Airlines Now, is both looking at the Boeing and the Douglas transport today. They're both great aircraft. United Airlines, American, ourselves are both looking at them. In fact, before that, the turboprop transport, which is now flying on Capital Airlines, called the Viscount, on which I hold an option for quite a few of these. And I'm going to England on the 24th, and Ethel's going with me to talk to the factories again about the turboprop Viscount, which will come ahead of the jet transport. But both of these will be our standard transports by 1960 in America.
Ethel, tell me, do you know anything about airplanes?
No, I don't know much about airplanes, and I think Robert knows about as much about music.
She's so right on that, Ed.
Ethel, maybe you can fill in both of us. How do you rate the many great musical comedies you've played in?
Well, Ed, as far as importance is concerned, I think the first show that I ever did, and that was Girl Crazy. As a matter of fact, if it weren't for Girl Crazy, I probably wouldn't be here talking to you now. And then, of course, as the years went on and I got bigger parts and shows. Of course, Anything Goes was a great show.
It was.
The music by my wonderful friend Cole Porter. And then Call Me Madam was another great show. I loved the gowns in that. And I also adored doing Irving Berlin's Annie Get Your Gun, because I just loved playing Annie Oakley.
Of course, you enjoy playing anything you have ever played, didn't you?
I think I have, yes.
And now, except for occasional television shows, I gather you've given up Broadway and the bright lights to live in the shadow of the Rockies. How do you like it?
Oh, well, I just love it here. It's just wonderful. It's wonderful for raising children, and it's not that we're here all the time. I mean, we get to New York very often, and we get up here to the mountains in 45 minutes.
Must be a wonderful place to raise children.
It is. It's just great, and it's complete relaxation. It's a wonderful, wonderful place to live in.
Are the children home tonight?
Yes, they are. They're right in the living room. Would you like to see them?
Yes, of course.
All right,
certainly.
let's go visit with them then. Ed, I'd like you to meet my daughter, Ethel.
Good evening, Ethel.
Hello, Mr. Murrow.
How are you tonight?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Fine.
And Ed, my son, Bobby.
Hi, Bobby.
Hello, Mr. Murrow.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Ethel, Big Ethel, Little Ethel. Do you have any desire to be a performer and singer like your mother?
Well, Mr. Murrow, I like acting, but I don't sing. I don't know whether I'd like to make it my profession, though.
What are you thinking of?
Oh, I really don't know. I like writing,
Uh-huh.
and I've thought about being an airline stewardess. I think that would be fun.
Well, your father might use his influence there, don't you think?
Ed, I'm so short of hostesses now, I'm about to sign her up right this minute, as a matter of fact.
Ethel, that reminds me, I've seen a number of your shows, and I've often wondered, you ever sing anything soft and quiet like?
Well, I have, Ed. I've done some sort of, what do we say, sentimental numbers and shows. But I do a couple of wonderful numbers in a new album, a Decca album that I've just completed. It's called Memories by Ethel Merman.
Uh-huh.
It's 40 of the real old-time songs, and it's from the gay 90s to the roaring 20s.
Oh, sounds wonderful.
And in the album we have a Dixieland jazz session, and we have some of the George M. Cohan songs, and then we have some sentimental songs, like one, boy of mine, although my heart was aching.
Hey, Bobby,
Hmm?
Miss Merman's boy of mine, you been doing any hunting out there in Colorado?
Well, I shoot at empty beer cans with a BB gun Mr. Robert gave me,
Uh-huh.
but I guess that's about all.
Well, Ed, I'm just teaching him how to shoot now, and I gave him this Daisy air rifle, which is good for him, but he's not allowed to shoot birds or rabbits or things that are on the place here.
Mhm.
Just at cans and targets to teach him how to shoot.
You getting pretty good at it?
He's
Well-
pretty good right now.
He took a shot at an owl the other night that was up in the tree. There was this big 18-inch owl up in one of our trees the other night.
Robert, I know there's a well-known golf course not far from your house. Have you ever played with the president there?
Ed, I haven't played with the presidents. It's just about 200 yards the first tee over here from our house. The president plays there almost every day. I'm not a very good golfer, Ed, and the president has not asked me to play golf with him. I don't blame him very much for that. He likes to play with our ex-governor, Dan Thornton, who's a 3-handicap player,
Ah,
and I'm not that class. I'm about a 19-handicap player.
well, that's about my speed, too.
Well, I might play with you someday, Ed.
Good, we'll do that.
Might follow the president around all the way through.
Ethel, have you seen the president recently?
No, I haven't seen him this summer yet, Ed. I hope to before he goes back to Washington. Bob and I had a meeting with him last summer before he left Denver to go back, and we went over to his office one morning, and gee, the conversation was just so interesting. Our president got on the subject of his trout fishing and how he cooks the big trout that he catches, and we were supposed to be with him for about a half hour, and things went on and on and on, and Bob and I were with him for about an hour. I was very proud of it, and he's such a wonderful, wonderful man.
Ethel, could we go back to show business for a minute?
Yes.
I know you've never had a singing lesson, but where did you get your best advice?
Well, Ed, my best advice came from my good friend, the late George Gershwin. He advised me when I was in Girl Crazy never to take a singing lesson, and I've always remembered that. I had a number to sing in that show called I Got Rhythm, and I had to hold a note for 16 bars, and I had no trouble breathing. And Gershwin advised me never to go near a singing teacher. He said, you seem to do all right now. If you go near a vocal coach, you'll become diaphragm conscious. And so I never did. However, right here, I want to show you this. It probably won't pick up on camera, but this is part of one of George Gershwin's original manuscripts, which I have. And it's the opening of the third act of Girl Crazy. And right down here in the corner, of course, what you can't pick up are his initials, G.G., his own manuscript paper. And here's a sketch of himself. He used to sort of noodle around when he was composing. If he couldn't just get the right note, he'd start to draw. And this is a sketch he did of himself. And this I'll always keep.
I should think you would. Ethel, I suppose people always ask you to sing at parties. Doesn't this become something of a bore?
Oh, no, I don't mind it too much, Ed. But you see, out here in Denver, when I go to a party, I'm sort of accepted as Mrs. Robert Six and not as Ethel Merman. And there are very few people out here who ask me to sing. But by the same token, some other places that I've visited, it's a question of, oh, come on to my party, Ethel, and bring your piano player.
Do you do much entertaining out there in Cherry Hills?
Yes, we do. We have a wonderful time out here. Of course, most all the entertaining is done right here in our home or other people's houses. We don't have any nightclubs like Morocco or Stork or 21 or anything like that. So the answer is we do it all here. And usually, in nice weather like this, we do it outside on the patio. Shall we go out there?
Yes, of course.
All right. See you later, children.
Good night, Ethel. Good night, Bobby.
Right out here, Ed, where it's always usually so lovely. And, of course, Bob is the barbecue man of the family. He barbecues like nobody's business.
Oh, I've heard about that. Bob, your reputation as a charcoal cook has spread to the east. Do you have any special secret about this?
Well, Ed, I'd like to barbecue a lot of things, but tonight we're fixing a steak, and it's a very simple recipe, which I'm very fond of, which is merely soy sauce, garlic, and some fresh grated ginger in there. And I'm going to put this steak on right now. So as soon as we're through with the program with you, and if I don't drop this, believe me.
Whoa.
Put this on. We're going to have this after the show.
I wish I could
be very, very good.
I wish I could drop in.
Well, I wish you could too, Ed.
Bob, you do quite a bit of jumping around the country, don't you?
Ed, I do. We have offices in Los Angeles, New York, and around the country. And we've been recently recommended for a new route for Continental Airlines from Chicago to Denver to Los Angeles, which necessitates my traveling even more. And on these trips, Ethel goes with me all the time that she is not working.
Ethel, does that mean you're separated a lot, even if you're not working on Broadway or in Hollywood?
Oh, no, not too much. As Robert said, Ed, that when he goes away on trips, I always go with him if I can. And, of course, if it's a matter of a day or two, I don't bother because I like to be around the children also. And, but if he's away for a week or 10 days, I usually go with him, and I usually have fun.
And you're both going to London before long, aren't you?
Yes.
We're supposed to go, Ed, on the 24th of the month, again, to look over the British turboprop Viscount airplane, which I said is a forerunner to our turbojet airplanes in America.
Uh-huh. Well, I hope you have a wonderful trip, and I hope to see you when you pass through New York.
Right, Ed.
See you, Ed.
Good night, Mr. and Mrs. Six. And will you say good night to young Ethel and Bobby for us?
We will. Good night, Ed.
Good night,
Ethel,
Ed. Thank you
Ethel,
very
one
much.
more thing.
Yes, Ed.
I was reading the last line in your book, Who Could Ask for Anything More? And that last line, as you wrote it, was, I hope it's been nice knowing me. It
Well,
certainly
Ed,
has been nice knowing you in your own home tonight.
Thank you very much, Ed.
Thank you very much.
So
and
nice being with you.
I hope the steak turns out well, Robert.
Ed, it will, believe me.
Right. Good night.
Good night.
Thanks again. In just a moment, we'll take you for a visit